What is up, everyone? Boshi here, back at it in Raid Shadow Legends, and we have a fusion later this week, guys, so let's jump into it. Alright guys, like I said, Fusion later this week, not a confirmed date as of yet. Now I do want to mention that in the event tab we do have a Fusion warm-up, which usually lines up with the date of the Fusion. This one's a little bit different, as this one says 3 days and 19 hours, which means it would end around the 11th. Now I'm not exactly sure because the leaked info I'm going to throw up on the screen right now, which was in the news section for just a little bit apparently, but this does say February 10th. And as you can see on the picture, it is 4 of the same epic. Now if you haven't done that type of fusion before, typically it's the 4 same rares fused into the same epic and then into the ultimate fusion legendary champion. Now we're going to go over that champion here in just a second, but I did want to get that info out to you guys. So it does seem like it's going to be a little bit easier of a fusion, hopefully. Now you can obviously just go after one copy of the epic and just go for there. Don't worry about the legendary, but in my opinion, I always think it's better to go for the legendary if you have the resources. This one's a little bit interesting, so I know there's probably going to be a lot of people not going for this one, and you'll kind of see here in just a second. But yeah, let's go ahead and jump into the kit. Alrighty guys, we're going to go ahead and use this awesome infographic provided by Raid themselves for the new fusion. So the name of the champion is Karato Foxhunter of the Shadowkin faction, is going to be an attack-based champion of the Spirit Affinity. So I know you guys are probably reading through the kit already before I even go into it, and you guys see the name Yumiko. So yes, this is going to be a partner champion where you get extra effects by having an additional champion on the team by the name of Yumiko. Now, I know this is going to turn off a lot of people from going after this fusion, but I do want to give a bit of a warning about that, and honestly, he does have a really good kit without Yumiko even involved in it, so just be aware of that, but we'll talk a little bit more after I go through the kit. So on the A1, 3 visitations, attacks 1 enemy 3 times. Each hit has a 20% chance of placing a 25% weaken debuff for 2 turns. So a very, very good A1 multi-hitter. I'm always a big fan of multi-hitters just because it makes them viable in stuff like Fire Knight. Now each hit having a 20% chance to land the weaken is a little bit low, but do remember you have 3 chances to land this, and with books I do think that this will go up to at least a 30% chance per hit, so very, very solid A1. On the A2, we have Bedevil on a 4-turn cooldown, attacking 1 enemy, placing a stun debuff for 2 turns, and then grants an extra turn and resets the cooldown of the skill if Yumiko is on the same team and the skill kills an enemy. So when you look at it without Yumiko being involved, it's an attack 1 enemy, placing a stun. Notice there is no percent chance, so it is a guaranteed stun as long as you have the accuracy. And obviously they don't have block debuffs and stuff like that. Now I do think that with books this will go down to a 3-turn cooldown, which is very solid. Now when you look at the Yumiko part, granting an extra turn and resetting the cooldown of the skill if it kills an enemy, this could be extremely good, guys, especially in stuff like PvP where this champion probably will shine. Now if you hit a low target, with the A2 you get a reset, and then you can also stun an additional target because you'll get that extra turn if you have a Yumiko on the field. Now obviously with this I do also think that this ability will hit really hard just because it talks about killing an enemy, and there is no percent chance that you're going to be adding with books, so that probably means you're just going to get damage books on the A2. So overall, very, very good A2 in my opinion. Even without books, without Yumiko, it is an attack 1 enemy placing a stun debuff. So yeah, very good. On the A3, we have Suppression Ward. On another 4-turn cooldown, attacks all enemies, has an 80% chance of placing a block active skill debuff for 2 turns. And then this debuff cannot be resisted if Yumiko is on the same team. So without Yumiko, very, very solid AoE, 80% chance, which is very, very high without books, of placing block active skill. Once again, a very good PvP ability, but can also be used in PvE, such as for faction crypts and dungeons, Doom Tower waves. Now with books, I do think that this will go up to 100% chance and down to a 3-turn cooldown, but very solid even without Yumiko being involved. Now with Yumiko involved, this is huge in PvP, guys, just because of the fact that you will be going up against very, very high resist champions. And if you have Yumiko and you have Foxhunter on the same team, this is a guaranteed block active skill as long as they don't have block debuffs and all that, because resist just does not matter because of that passive ability with Yumiko on the field. So that is huge, huge, huge. Very, very good A3. Now, looking at the passive Stoicism, damage inflicted by this champion cannot be decreased by enemy passive skills or masteries except by passive skills by bosses. So kind of just ignore this whole part for boss. But overall, that means stuff like Duchess passive where they're under veil, they'll take reduced damage. That does not apply to Foxhunter, which is really cool. But then you kind of have a downside here with the damage inflicted by this champion cannot be increased by ally passive skills or masteries. Now, I can't really think of too many, but the first one that popped in my mind just as a example is stuff like Bad L, where if a poison is on the target, they gain additional damage. That will not affect Foxhunter. So definitely going to have some unique builds. Definitely have to be careful with which masteries you're picking and stuff like that with your ally champions that you pair with him. But yeah, definitely more research needs to go into that. I'm sure a lot of people will be testing that on the test server and whatnot. And then you have one last thing of the passive, which is whenever Yumiko dies, instantly grants a turn to this champion and resets the cooldown of each of this champion's skills. This is going to be huge in PvP as well, as if Yumiko dies, you get an instant turn, but your A3 and A2 are or off cooldown, I should say. And so you can either choose to stun or you can choose to do an AoE block active skill once again. So that is very, very big as well. And then you have the aura, increase ally crit rate in all battles by 20%. Not the greatest aura, but can be very good for early gamers that just can't quite hit that 100% crit rate. Now, overall, I think this champion is definitely worth going for, even without Yumiko in the picture, right? You have an A2 that has a stun, attack one enemy. Now, with Yumiko, you get a reset and all that type of stuff. Great. On the A3, you have an AoE block active skill. Once again, 80% chance is great without books. But with Yumiko, obviously puts this ability over the top. And then the passive is nice to have if you have Yumiko, but obviously most of it is without Yumiko. So overall, I think this champion is definitely worth going for, even if you're not looking at having Yumiko in the picture. Now, when you look at this, though, this is very similar to what they did with Ashtalon and Countess Lix, the last February fusion, I believe. So once again, you had to kind of think that this was coming, a partner champion in February for Valentine's Day and all that type of stuff. But what they did with Ashtalon is they later on had a guaranteed event for Countess Lix. So I do think that this is very much a possibility for Foxhunter and Yumiko to have a guaranteed event for Yumiko a little bit further down the line. So definitely worth going for this champion, in my opinion. If you have the resources, obviously. Don't go ahead and break the bank in order to get this fusion. But yeah, definitely worth going for it. But like I said, even without Yumiko in the picture, a very, very good kit. But with Yumiko in the picture, a very extremely good kit, which I really like and a very big fan of. But yeah, that is my opinion, guys. Let me know if you guys will be going for this fusion, if you guys are going to skip out on it. Once again, I will go ahead and create a short once we get a validate or guaranteed date, I should say, for this fusion. As of right now, it looks like February 10th, but we will see. But yeah, that is it, guys, and I will talk to you guys later. See ya.